So Visa is thrilled to sponsor the AACUC Professional Summit. My name is Jackie Sinatra, and I am a Senior Account Executive with Visa and a Visa Ambassador. Visa is a longtime supporter for the War on Talent to advocate and uplift diverse future leaders. We work closely with the AACUC and the Cooperative Trust's Crash program by providing opportunities to bring emerging leaders and talent to credit union events with the ultimate goal of enhancing your career. This year, we welcome the Cooperative Trust's Crash program to AACUC. If you're part of YPS and attended a Crash conference in the past, please let us know in the chat session. I've also heard that we have some first-timers in the audience. YPS, let's make them feel welcome to the AACUC family. Welcome. We're very excited to bring these two outstanding programs together in collaboration. For this week's summit, your Crash leader is Andrea Finley. She's a YPS member, Crash alumni, and Crash GAC mentor. Supporting Andrea will be Courtney Angley from the Cooperative Trust, as well as Becca Davies, a Crash GAC mentor. Becca is also from Visa. They are such amazing role models and committed professionals. Throughout this week and the year, you'll be hearing from Angela, Courtney, and Becca, along with Opal Tomosevica, who leads YPS and was instrumental in creating the YPS experience for this week. So I'll just ask you a few things. Be engaged, open to change, and positive, and you'll have the best YPS ever. I'd also like to take this moment to introduce our speaker for today. I have the great honor to introduce Letitia Vaca. I'll start by sharing that I was in trauma and I didn't know it. Visa's mental health and well-being community invited me to an interactive virtual workshop with Letitia. She's a therapist, speaker, owner of the Urban Group LLC, and co-founder of Urban Catalyst Psychotherapy, a multicultural group practice. Letitia has 15 years experience in the field of health, human services, and mental health. She specializes in trauma as well as medical psychotherapy. Letitia believes with the right tools and support, we can regain balance in our lives, feel renewed, and empowered to be ourselves. She believes in the internal strength of people and communities. I introduce you to Letitia Vaca.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Leticia Vaca. I'm so happy to be here with you. Anytime I get a chance to talk to folks about healing, about emotional decompression, I'm here for it. So I'm happy that Visa and AACUC has invited me into this space. This is traditionally not a space where we talk about our emotions. So I'm happy that I'm here to be with you, but that we're creating healing within the workplace. Slide. So she's already explained a little bit about my resume. Most importantly, it's important for me to show up as a human being. A lot of my direct experience has stemmed from my own personal losses of family and friends. And I've worked in a hospital, so I've witnessed other people along their journeys, whether it be physical or emotional traumas. And hearing folks' narratives, their stories, has really empowered me to work with folks outside of the hospital. And I love being in non-traditional spaces, talking about real life stuff. I want to bring my humanness to this space, and I'll guide you through how we're going to spend our time together. Next slide. So before we begin, I want to check in with everyone to see if there's any thoughts or concerns before we begin. Again, you know, this is not the usual space where we talk about maybe some heavy or complicated things. So I want to make sure that if there's any issues we can address ahead of time, please share that. All right, yeah, go ahead and put in chat. I don't want to take up too much of your time because we have a short amount of time and I want to make sure you get the most out of this. Next slide. So my goal for today is that I help facilitate a safe place. When I say safe place, I mean an environment where you are not afraid of speaking up, an environment where you know you're supported, and an environment where you know you'll be seen. So when I say safe space, that's what I mean. I will provide emotional decompression. It's always my goal to create a real authentic sense of connection and community. It sounds like you guys already have that, so maybe we could just take it up a notch. And I'll also provide some guided self-care. So I know folks are doing the best they can and probably already have some good coping skills, but I want to be able to walk through it with you and we'll do it together. Next slide. I think we skipped one, but what I'm not going to do is leave you hanging. Oh, maybe not. And you may notice your feelings more after this, which is okay, but I'll give you some resources that you can use. I'll also provide a self-care toolkit. So some of the things we talk about will be in this little pamphlet that you'll get. In other circumstances, we would be sharing a space together. I would see your faces, be able to exchange energy. So it's important for me to know who's in the room. And if you can either open your mic or write in the chat what your name is, where you're located, your heritage, and where you find your strength. Edith, thank you.
Hi, this is Becca Davies. I work with Visa and I sit in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I come from a Caucasian background where I find my strength is from yoga and practicing meditation and deep breathing.
Okay, thank you for sharing. A couple more folks.
Hey, good evening. This is Kamal Gasper with ViceStar Credit Union based in Jacksonville, Florida. And where I find my strength in is being able to help others reach their dreams that they really didn't think that they could achieve, whether that's finances or personal, just looking to help people and impact and change their lives.
And it's Kamal?
Yes, Kamal.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Couple more folks. I'm trying to make sure I read and I know who's in the room.
Hi, I'm Hazel May Overturf, and I'm currently in close to Seattle, Washington, and I am a Filipino American. And the strength question is what threw me, but I'm really glad you asked it. And I think right now it's actually the people around me that give me strength. So right now that's my husband and my sister and virtually all of you. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Someone else in the chat also mentioned, you know, it's maybe kind of difficult to find your strength right now. We'll go through that. We'll see if we can create that together. So next slide, please. And keep adding in the chat because I'm reading. I want to know. So these spaces, these emotional healing spaces have been introduced to a lot of corporate companies. And I know you guys are seeing a lot of information out there, and I just want to highlight what we're experiencing as people, humans on this earth. And there's specific things that are happening in our community specifically for Black folks. When we look at what's happening globally, COVID-19 changed everything. It changed the way we interface, the way we do business, how we don't do business. And then we're also seeing a lot of complicated things in the news when it comes to police brutality, harassment by privileged white folks, media exploitation of murders. So there's a lot of heavy things going on, and creating these spaces in our work areas is important because we spend a lot of time there. So if you're noticing some things that are becoming more challenging, you're probably feeling accurate, like those confusing heaviness. That's an accurate emotion you may be feeling. Next slide. So I want to know a little bit, because everyone has their own expression, their own emotions, their own individual things that they've been carrying. I want to create a virtual emotional place where you can set some of these things down, and for us to share with one another, what is the heaviness that you've been carrying? Even before this call, Jackie and I checked in on some personal things. Because we are humans, you are experiencing different things. So I want us to kind of share in what heaviness, what confusion, what disorganized emotions or thoughts that you've been feeling. I want to offer you to place it here. And if you want to speak, feel free to open your mic. If not, you can put your heaviness in the chat.
Hi, this is Courtney. I just wanted to share one of the things that I've been struggling with is making sure that I don't allow, I guess what I would say is like white supremacist ideas to stop me from sharing when I know something is wrong. And if I find that I'm like staying silent, I have to really think about why that is, and really question like where that is rooted from and why it's happening that way. So that's really been a challenge for me.
Okay. Courtney, thank you. Kind of wanting to do something more, but not really sure of what's holding you back. But if you think a little bit deeper, you probably have a good reason. Anyone else have been holding anything? And I want to just shorten it. The past 4 months, have you experienced any heaviness, any confusion?
I'll go.
Balance and rest with taking action, for sure.
So my name is Andrea, and the past 4 months have been pretty hard for me and my family because I'm in an interracial marriage, and my husband's side of the family is white, and we are in the Deep South. And so there's been a lot of issues and things that I'm like, I wish you could see, or I wish you could understand, and having that communication has been most difficult. And it's been more difficult because it is family and because the initial intentions are good, but just struggling to have those conversations as to please be open to my side of things, if you will, or just what I have to say or the hurt that I have to say, because it not only affects me, it also affects my children. So that's been a very difficult strain for us.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. And family, no matter what the circumstance, is always going to be a harder thing to deal with because we care so much and sometimes we're just raw. So I get it, listening to some of the dilemmas that are coming up for you.
Hi, I'm SB. I actually have to piggyback off of Andrea's because I do have a 7-year-old son. So trying to explain it to him in a way that makes sense, and also kind of get him to understand why my in-laws don't really understand where we're coming from, has definitely been very, very hard and very heavy, because he is 7 and we do want him to know what's going on in the world and have him start thinking of ways that he can make an impact, even if it's small little things. But it's, again, going back to being in that relationship with somebody who doesn't really understand your culture as much, like they're trying to get their family to see that as well.
Right. Well, thank you, SP. And what we'll be doing today is looking at ourselves. We will be getting honest with what we're experiencing, when you're able to have those honest conversations and take good care of yourself, your kids are witnessing that. We're starting with you today. Everything else will branch off when you're not well. Your kids, your family, your coworkers will notice it. They'll experience it. When you are well, they'll reap the benefits of you being well. So we're going to slow it down a little bit and get down to the heart of it, which is, I don't know what to do with this. Life doesn't really come with a rule book. So we're creating avenues of, well, what's going on with me? How am I receiving this? Next slide, please. So I want to take a moment to just connect. And we do this in therapy if I was, one-on-one clients, but we could do it collectively as well, to just get present. So I want you guys to take whatever dominant hand you use to write and just place it on your chest. I want you to notice your breath, meaning feeling the air come in and out of your mouth. Maybe it's your nose. Start noticing your chest rising and falling. Naturally, as you do that, your breathing slows down. Now I want you to take your other hand and place it on top of that hand. Imagine this is that challenging family member. Imagine it's your children. Imagine it's your friends who are far away from you. And just feel that sensation of your hand on top of your chest. And in our natural state of being, this is it, just breathing. I want you to wiggle your fingers. Shake it out and bring yourself back present. Our minds get busy. We get active and we lose sight. That basic connection to self allows you to imagine connecting to someone else. Next slide. So all the things you guys described in the chat, folks opening up, talking to us through the mic. One more back, please. I just want to acknowledge these are actually normal responses to abnormal circumstances. What you've expressed is appropriate. It matches. We're not used to, or we don't like the full range of our emotions. We like the happy ones when we're feeling motivated and loved and understood, and folks are listening and asking you how you're doing. Like, we like all those. Now, once we get to the opposite end of that, which is frustrated, which is misunderstood, feeling like folks aren't seeing you, that's actually appropriate. We have a full range of emotions. We only like the nice ones, the ones that feel good. So all these things that you guys are describing are really normal reactions to abnormal circumstances. And I'm going to repeat that over and over so that it kind of sinks in, that you give yourself a little compassion and say, oh, I'm having a hard time. Okay. Are you dealing with an abnormal situation? For folks who have witnessed the videos of George Floyd being murdered, right? Under no circumstances would I imagine that folks feel good about witnessing that. You don't have to know this person to kind of feel icky about it, to be upset about it, to be stressed about it. And there's our own experiences that we're having within our families, with ourselves, which is, my aunt says something I don't agree with. How could she think that, right? So even those more immediate reactions are normal responses to abnormal circumstances. So what we're doing in this time together is slowing it down and just saying, okay, yeah, I'm feeling some things. Click to the next slide. So as a trauma therapist, COVID-19, witnessing all the civil unrest, social injustice, whether it's new to you or something you've known for a long time, you will have a reaction to it. So trauma is not necessarily an event. It is an overwhelming emotional response to something disturbing, to something that is distressing. So I have this list here, which you can see there's a lot, where folks may have some immediate emotional reactions and some delayed reactions. For folks in the past 4 months, whether the changes with COVID-19 or what you're witnessing in your direct communities or even in your family, you may notice some of these things where feeling overwhelmed, maybe more tense, like aches and pains. You're starting to notice some discomfort in your body, difficulty concentrating, getting work done, or maybe even some tasks around the house. Now, some folks may not have had that much emotional shift. They may be going around normally, not normal, well, as normal, as routine as they usually are. Well, we also know with trauma that there can be some delayed effects, that when you're under constant stress or witness it, it doesn't have to be directly to you. You can hear something disturbing and it elicit a response inside of you. Longer term things that we're thinking about is, are you feeling hypervigilant, like super responsive to sounds, or the fact that anyone made a comment about Black lives or made any comment about any person who's non-white, right? Are you feeling this reactivity? Those are things that can develop over time if it's not in check. Next slide. Now you see, this is just more stuff. Like there's 2 pages of a lot of things that a person may be experiencing when they are experiencing trauma. Now, we don't think of COVID-19 necessarily as trauma, but when we look at our reaction, our emotional responses to what's coming up, for our parents who have kids, you now become teachers overnight. Everyone who's now using Zooms, I'm a therapist by training, but I'm halfway IT person. Now I have to know how to navigate tech. Now, these 2 lists just depict that there's a lot of different emotions, responses, thoughts, behaviors that can come about with a traumatic experience. So if you're having any of these, maybe you're not, maybe you're witnessing a close friend, someone in your family experiencing this. If you're noticing that your kid is kind of acting up a little bit, well, this is a new change for them. And allowing a little space to say, hey, let me know what's going on. What thoughts do you have? And kids as young as 3 understand discrimination. Hand them a pack of Starburst, they'll let you know what's their favorite. They'll be able to discern by colors, by taste, by just whatever they prefer, right? And so kids very young understands the changes that are happening. But as parents or as adults or caregivers or just family members, to understand what's going on with you, we bypass that. So I'm wanting to bring that back to the forefront. Next slide. So I want to go through an exercise with you all about how we can check in with ourselves. Sometimes folks don't have a lot of ruminating thoughts or fixated thoughts on challenges, but it can show up in our bodies, especially for a lot of women and people of color, Black folks, Indigenous. They have more of somatic reactions to life. So even working in the hospital, people may come in complaining of pain, and really they've just experienced something traumatic. So this exercise is called Feel It and Heal It. So if, you're a busy-minded person, kind of like myself, sometimes you have to slow it down and check in. So what we're going to do is a body scan. And I have examples of this in the self-care toolkit. So don't worry about trying to take notes on this. You'll have this. So with the body scan, we're going to imagine there's a green bar that starts at the top of our head and moves through our body, through the soles of our feet. Now this green bar is detecting any source of tension, tingliness, any sensations, tightness. It could be a dull pain. So I want you guys, and on a count of three, we're going to do our scans together. Imagine this green bar is going through, detecting for stuff. I like to do this too. So I really enjoy these sessions because it's like me being able to check myself too, and we'll be able to do it together. You don't have to move your hands, but I just do this visually so that you can see what I'm doing. So on the count of three, you're going to start your green bar at the top of your head. It's going to move through the soles of your feet. And then I'll ask you some questions. So 1, 2, 3. Begin your green bar. In the chat, or you can open your mic, I want you to type whatever sensations that you noticed and get descriptive. So for me, I'm feeling a tightness in the base of my neck, only in the back. Tension in my shoulders. Now, Edith, is it both shoulders? Is it the front, the back? For Courtney, you're feeling stuff in your shoulders. Oh, between your shoulders, okay. And your jaw, your back. Now, does this tension in, because quite a few people say in their jaw, does it feel like constriction? Does it feel pain on one side? Heat with aching in my head. Okay, so for the aching, like is it in the front? Start getting really specific about where you're feeling these sensations. Throbbing between my shoulders, okay. So you don't have to get descriptive here, but I want you to get really clear about the sensation that you're feeling. Thirsty, okay. And interesting, for thirst, that can be a trauma response. I'm not going to get into that, but it is a thing that comes up where your body starts sending you information. Now we're saying, all right, body, I hear you. I'm clear about it. So don't do it yet. I'm going to walk you guys through on how we're going to heal it. So now that you've detected where all these tingling, tension, sensations are, you've already done your scan. Now we're going to do a scan again, but this time we're going to take a really deep inhale, almost to the point that your lungs feel so full, lightning and thunder. Is that real?
It sure is. Yes, ma'am.
You must be in the South somewhere.
Indeed, I am.
So you're going to take a really deep inhale to the point that your lungs feel and they start to ache. On your exhale, you're going to begin your scan, and you're going to imagine that you're pushing that sensation through your body and sending it through the soles of your feet. Now, when you inhale, I got to demonstrate because I want you to do it like this. Inhale. On your exhale, you're blowing out a birthday candle. So you're going to go. And it's okay if you can't move that tension all the way. Like sometimes it only gets to my belly or my shoulders. Take another inhale and exhale like you're blowing out your candle. All right. I can't see you guys all. I'm going to try to look at you guys all. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do want to see you guys do it. So on the count of three, we're going to put our green bars in, and we're saying we feel you, and we're going to see if we can move that energy through the soles of our feet. Thank you. All right. 1, 2, 3. Begin your inhale. If you were able to move this energy at all, In the chat, I want you to just write moved it. And I like looking at you guys when you do this, because after we do it, I start seeing folks move around, wiggle a little bit. You're letting that energy flow where usually we're constricted and really focused, and that's very easy to do when you're on a computer. So doing this body scan, I call it feel it and heal it. You started to notice that you guys are swaying a little bit. You're now taking control. All right, let's see. You moved it, okay? It's trippy, right? But we're making that mind-body connection and we're moving that energy. Your body likes to be listened to. We bypass it. I got to get this report done. I got to do this. It takes literally a few moments to address your body that's sending all these signals. I won't get into it here, but this is how we can get into trouble with some longer term health issues. It's connecting. Pain is a great sensor. We have all these senses and we don't necessarily use it for our good, but that's how we make sense of things in our brain, by what we see, what we hear, what we feel. Intuition, we don't talk about that, but you do have it. So this is just a smaller example of how I can heal it and feel it. These are things you can walk through with your partners, with your friends. Maybe you don't have any words of advice and say, hey, let's see if we could do this thing. Even with your kids, small kids, they like guidance, they like instruction, they like structure. Just say, mommy's not feeling good or daddy's not, let's see if we could do this thing together, right? And you're getting them in touch with our body and mind and how we can use it for our good. All right, let's get back to the slide. Next slide. So this picture, this slide, it's nothing, right? But instantly when you see someone who smiles, it elicits good feelings. So I put her here on purpose because after we talked about all the funkiness and tension, to create a sense of balance and equilibrium within ourselves. And smiling people typically make me smile. So I wanted to see if it would have the same response. Next slide. Now, I asked you all in the beginning, where do you find your strength? So some folks were saying with their family, it was from yoga. I'm trying to go back and reread, but it was a lot of connection to family. So no one I didn't see, my resilience comes from getting more money, right? It's some things that are invaluable, and reconnecting to that allows us to have strength. So I call resilience a superpower. It's starting to get studied a lot more in the field of psychology. It's just hard to study because you have to have faced adversity in order for resilience to pop up. And we'll go through a few ways that we can enhance resilience within ourselves. Next slide. I keep looking at my keyboard like I have control. So again, resilience is the ability to adapt well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedies, threats, stress. It's our ability to adapt well. Folks who are highly resilient, they have a way of changing course. They have a way of emotionally healing and moving in the direction that they choose. Sometimes that can look like I can maintain a daily routine. I at least eat one healthy meal a day. So the ability to stay on course, moving in the direction that you like. Now I have this picture of a second line band in New Orleans. And anyone who knows anything about the second line, it's a tradition that's most known after funerals. So there's this music, there's people dancing. It's actually a really beautiful display that dates back to West Africa. So it was a tradition that the enslaved people of West Africa brought over to the States during slavery. That even during adversity, we can find ways to celebrate. and experience joy. But again, this comes after adversity. So I encourage folks to read about it because the music is so amazing. You will feel yourself wanting to move around and celebrate. But again, the second line comes after the first line, which is the actual funeral. Next slide. So we can actually enhance it. We can build it. For the folks who said, well, I don't know where my strength comes from. I don't think I have strength right now, which is okay. And it's actually a really great self-awareness. So there's a few steps without making it too complicated on how you can build or enhance your resilience. Self-awareness. So we use the body scan to check in with ourselves. How aware are you of how your body is processing life? Sometimes folks are pretty heady. Sometimes I could be heady and think things through and know that, oh God, I got a lot on my plate. But some folks aren't so heady and they feel it in their bodies. So self-awareness is one way because it's information. Oh, I've been impacted. Oh, this is heavy for me. Oh, I feel really disorganized. The second one is our attention to flexibility and mindfulness. The body scan also allows us to do that because we've acknowledged I'm thinking some things. And through the power of my mind and breath, I can move, I can get present. So that's what this is, right? If you're feeling yourself, for the folks who have heart racing, just hold your hand here. And you'll notice that you're starting to get present because now I'm paying attention to my chest rising and falling. If I'm feeling like I need support, I can create that. Letting go, both physically and mentally. Again, the body scan just demonstrated these first three things, which is through my breath, I was able to move some of this tension that was in my body. And 5, accessing and sustaining positive emotions. So keeping things around you that elicit positive emotion. That's why I put that happy lady in there. I threw her in there because I knew it would shift us to the next journey of self-care. Next slide. So one way to do this, because some folks are pretty like concrete, like that's not enough, those 5 steps. One way you can do that is your connection to your community. I call these people the Fab Five. Anyone who knows anything about like basketball, the Fab Five were these badass dudes and they were known for killing it on the basketball court. For folks who like to be fabulous, you can call it that too. So when we check in with ourselves, who are the 5 people I can go to when I need to be heard, when I need help, when I need to laugh, when I need to cry, or some solid advice? Those may not all be the same people. So if you're the strong one in your support group, your network, you're the one that people come to advice, who can you go to, right? Will they get overwhelmed by knowing that you're overwhelmed? So I have some suggestions of who your Fab Five could include. So I have your doctor, your therapist, a family member, a friend. Sometimes it's even a coworker who gives some really solid advice. So building your Fab Five allows you to know how to use your supports when you need it. As you're looking at this screen, did certain people pop up for you in your mind? And you can talk or put in the chat. Yeah, I have a friend. She's a really good listener. She does not give solid advice. So I'm not going to her if I'm like, girl, I need yes or no, right? So this is a guide because it can change throughout life, their availability, your conditions may change. So this list is a working list. Who you are is evolving, and sometimes your support system will need to evolve as well to make sure you're getting what you need. Next slide. Yeah, my mom's on there too, for sure. So this is a good place for me to check in and see how y'all doing. Compared to like when you first started the session to right now. And feel free to open your mic.
This is Ed Presnell. This is very remarkable. It's a very nice flow, and it's very fluid when you take a deep breath and settle your emotions and release all the, I call it let go of bad. Take in the good and release the bad.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ed.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You guys are the ones doing it. I'm just facilitating this journey.
This is the session today that probably had me most anxious. And I'm realizing it, you know, as we're going through these motions that I don't connect with, especially my body at all. I mean, that exercise of just the scan is like, what? I can't even get past my head right now. So much less anxious. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, good, good, good. Thank you, Craig. Yeah, I like to not give folks too much to try to prep for, just show up, right? We're just human beings trying to figure it all out. And sometimes we won't. But the one thing that we do have control over is our ability to check in with ourselves, our ability to take good care of ourselves. It could be a storm outside. I can't control the storm, but what I can do is control my breathing. I can get present, maybe connect to some people who can help me out. That is going to be the constant year in, year out, day or night, any circumstance. You can move from this state to across the country. The ability to take care of yourself is the thing that I want to help folks enhance.
So I just want to speak up, and unfortunately I missed the first half on my commute home. But what I thought was really great about this is, you know, I as a person, like, I can tell how I'm feeling right away. The problem is I don't always know how to deal with that or how to move past it. So I really enjoyed, you know, some what you talked about the scan, and also really, I know we just kind of hit it for a second, was the picture of the woman smiling, but it reminded me of some different exercises that I've done where basically, you know, different things that give you kind of a pleasurable feeling too. Like some of those things are like, I have to be like attract all my senses. So like I'll eat a piece of chocolate and I want to smell something that makes me feel cozy, and like a lot of stuff there. There's so many different ways, and like I actually had to start keeping a list of the things that made me feel good.
That's good, because you forget. You will
Yes.
surely forget. When you are stressed out, that brain says just survive, just breathe, just go get through the day. And I've stopped beating myself up about eating chocolate chip cookies. They smell good, they taste good, I enjoy them. So I sit in that full experience of enjoying something because it does take care of you, right? Now, when you're not mindful of stress, when you're not mindful of how you're experiencing emotional overwhelm, you can be eating chocolate chip cookies not knowing it's connected to some stress. So it's okay to take care of yourself, but we're bringing back the mindfulness. I'm aware that I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I'm gonna bake a couple cookies, you know, not too many, just a couple, and truly enjoy it because I want to take care of myself right now. We absent-mindedly do it and we overdo it at times. So having chocolate, having a glass of wine is fine, but when you're feeling like every day I have to end my night with 2 glasses of red wine, let's look at that, right? All right, next slide. So that kind of segue into, well, how do you recognize when you needed just a little bit more support? Because it's a fine line, right? You're having a normal reaction to abnormal circumstances. You're doing the best you can to take care of yourself. But there's some pretty clear signs of when you may be able to benefit from a little support. So there's a whole list of them. I'm only going to go through a few of them. But when you feel like you're pulling away from enjoyable activities, things that you typically like, you're just like not motivated, not really interested. If you notice that you're getting into tiffs with family members or friends or even coworkers, you feel snappy and it's happening more frequently, that could be a sign. Sleeping too much, sleeping too little. And one that I like to talk pretty directly about is when you're starting to have dark thoughts. Well, what's the point of life? What's the use? Things aren't going to change. These melancholic thoughts, and I'm just going to say it directly, I should just end my life. I don't want to be here anymore. That's a very clear sign that getting support can be helpful. And I have to say it directly because folks don't like to talk about it. And it's not like folks aren't out there struggling and hurting themselves. And these are happy people. When you look at Robin Williams, when you look at folks who are Anthony Bourdain and who were doing things and you wouldn't suspect it. And part of it is not being afraid to talk about it. So maybe you don't feel that way, but you have a friend or a family member and they keep saying things and it's not really sitting right with you. You usually know it in your gut and your body feels, have a reaction to these dark conversations to say, hey, I'm concerned and I want to be able to support you. So we don't always have the words, but we can say, that kind of concerns me and I want to be able to support you. You may not be available. So in the next slide, I'll show you some resources that can be helpful. Next slide. So having suicide prevention number saved in your phone. I've been telling folks, you don't know who's going to need it. Sometimes you're not always prepared for these conversations. It's not like someone schedules a meeting with you to talk about their suicidality, but having some tools available to yourself. If it's you or even your kid, you're noticing they're just like regressing. Regressing can look like they're more needy. Maybe they're picking on their sibling or wetting the bed. You know, they're just odd behavior. If you see it persistently, you may just want to let their doctor know. You may even notice with yourself, like, dang, you know, I'm not feeling well. That's how folks usually say, I'm not feeling good. Not a lot of descriptors. It may be a good time to just give your doctor a note. Hey, I haven't really been feeling too well. Can I schedule a checkup? The doctors will go through it with you, right? So some of them, not all of them, will be able to say, well, they might get more curious about how you're feeling. Using your EAP, I like it because it's short term. So for folks who are kind of afraid, maybe kind of resistant to say, let me just try this out. I mean, you could always stop, but it's a benefit that a lot of folks don't even utilize. So there's some online directories to look for therapists. I was on Psychology for Today. I'm still on Psychology Today, but there's a lot of directories that can lead you to connecting to a therapist. It's always important to connect with someone who you just vibe with, because trust and feeling supported is really important. It's also kind of scary. So it may take a session or two to kind of get your footing. In a crisis, do not hesitate. Crisis means like, I think I'm going to hurt myself now, or I've just witnessed someone, you know, take pills and drink. Like, don't play around with it. You'll deal with it later. But in a crisis, your go-to can be call 911. Next slide. That's it, y'all. I want to thank you guys for being present. I know it was really quick. I know there's a lot of information to cover, but I want you to know that this is just the beginning. So if you're interested in more supports, if you're interested in continuing your self-care journey, if you're feeling some things, I just want to affirm you to let you know it's matching our current circumstances. I have a self-care toolkit that I want to provide you guys. I don't know if I could drop it in the chat. I'll try, but apparently they can email it to you.
Yes.
So that you have available. Feel free to share it. But I just
Also,
want to thank you
Leticia,
guys for checking in.
sorry to interrupt, but we will post it under the Monday sessions
Okay.
in the exhibit hall for AACUC. So we'll post it as the self-care guide or whatever the title you had, Leticia, for it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll make
Self-care
sure
toolkit. Yep.
Leticia, thank you so very much for giving us these coping tools to help us have a more enjoyable and meaningful life. I enjoyed the session better the second time. So thank you for taking the time to speak to the crashers and the young professionals of the AACUC.
Thank you guys for
It's
joining
amazing.
in. Support is available, y'all. Don't suffer in silence. It is scary, but build your Fat Five. That could even be a start.
Thank you so much. We're going to turn it back over to Opal.
Okay. I was going to say, if there's any questions or thoughts that came up, this will be a good time to.
Oh, let's do that. Let's do that. If any of the young professionals or crashers or anybody that joined this afternoon session have questions or any comments that you want to share at this time.
I had a question. So first off, thank you so much for this. I needed it. Someone else said it too, like they had a rough morning and so did I. So this definitely helped. But I constantly try to meditate, but I have a hard time getting out of my head. Is there any suggestions that you can give me?
So sometimes I find, like, even in my therapy practice, folks are like, but I do yoga. So adding more tools to your kit allows you to address your different needs. What you're experiencing right now, meditation may not be it for you. It could be going for a 10-minute walk and then seeing if you can meditate for 2 minutes, right? So part of it is having a little flexibility in how you use self-care. I like to run. Running hasn't been doing it for me. Actually taking naps is what's been helpful for me right now. So being able to have a little flexibility in more options, because if not, you'll find yourself getting frustrated. Why can't I meditate? Well, maybe you need a brisk walk and then see if you can meditate for 60 seconds timed, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I add to that as well? Just from my own perspective, because I'm another person who's always in my head as well. I've been finding writing down my thoughts, no matter what they are, on a piece of paper really helps for me to kind of just declutter my space, so to speak. Even if it's nothing and I'm just rambling in my head, or I'm just talking about like literally nothing, I will write down whatever it is just to purge the thought.
Mm-hmm.
I found that kind of helps me. It still doesn't solve all of my problems, but I think it's also a good suggestion as well.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. That and meditation may be a goal, right? But right now you may need something more immediate to address what's coming up. Sometimes that can be anxiety. I can't stop my thoughts. I can't control them. Slowing yourself down takes practice. So doing the things like holding your chest. Can I focus on my breathing? Can I feel my chest move up and down? Okay. Can I feel the sensation of my other hand on top of this hand? Okay. So practicing presence, it really takes work, and giving yourself a little compassion and say, well, I did it for 30 seconds and try for a minute next week. Any other questions or thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to jump in, Leticia. Thank you so much for this session. It's really helpful for me as well. My question, I guess, was about, like, I work in a branch environment where, like, it just seems like we can never justify slowing down. So I was wondering if you could think of, like, make a suggestion about, like, how does we make it to the case to the team? Not necessarily like you have to defend, like, that self-care is important, but, like, how are we going to make the time to slow down?
Good question, right? So again, that's practice too. And we like for people to understand us before we truly understand what we need. It would be nice if people could just grant you permission. Please take care of yourself, Matthew. They don't do that, right? And typically it's because they don't have really great coping or balancing skills too. So even if it's moments, can I practice a couple moments that, am I available to give my input right now? To say, can I get back to you after lunch? Or is it okay if I let you know tomorrow? So giving yourself a little space sometimes can be helpful. We feel the pressure that other people give us, but also like this is compounding pressure. You probably felt like that for a long time. COVID probably exacerbated, sent it through the roof, or it feels unmanageable. When things feel bigger than you, that's a good time to say, oh, I'm struggling. Okay, what do I need? You may need a 3-day weekend to kind of gather yourself, to sleep, to catch up with your thoughts. We usually know what we need. We just haven't created the space to kind of think it through, feel it through. If thinking is not the thing, you definitely probably are feeling the pressure. I hope I answered it. Okay.
You did. Thank you.
All right, if folks don't have any other questions or thoughts, I think Opal is going to take over.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you and kind of reiterate what everyone else has said. Leticia, this has been amazing. I think it might have been Miranda who said, I didn't even know I needed this. And I feel the same exact way. This was awesome. So thank you so much. I think especially for like young professionals, I don't think that we give ourselves enough slack and enough time to focus on some of these things. I think we rely a lot on resiliency. And so thank you so much just for coming and sharing this and really giving us this breathing space within today. So I'm just super grateful for that. And thank you to all the Crashers and YPS folks and other folks who showed up. It's so good to see all of you, beautiful faces, and look forward to seeing you throughout AACUC CTC this week and in our evening sessions as well. So if there's any questions about any of that or anything left for Leticia, please speak up now or just say hello too, because it's great to see this community of folks. Got about a minute left.
So I will let you all know what's still coming. You're not done yet. Keep with us here. Next up is the After Hours Women's Chat. It starts at 6:30 Eastern, goes from 6:30 until 7. And Galeen is going to talk to us about the corporate table. It's a fantastic session. I got to sit in on the dry run. Then we also have in parallel the After Hours Men's Chat from 6:30 until 7. And it's a reflection with Wesley Williams and Marvin York. We have a quick break then from 7 until 7:15, and from 7:15 until 8 Eastern, we have an after-hour special event called Networking in the Digital Era with Stacy Bryant and Leticia Wheeler. So that's what's on for the rest of your night. Join us.
And thank you, Angela, and I'll add too, please use hashtag CTC 2020, AACUC 2020, or Crash AAC 2020, encouraging us all connecting on social media as well.
All right, people, take good care of yourselves. You will get a toolkit, so there's a lot of ideas and suggestions in there as well. The same exercises are in there as well. So that's my hope, that you continue this self-care and let it just spread throughout the rest of your lives.